All right, rose hips are also a super nutrient-dense wild food that makes a wonderful nourishing herbal infusion. And they're relatively inexpensive. They're also pretty easy to harvest and dry, although the one issue with the rose hips is inside the hip itself, which is the fruit from the rose, and any wild rose hip should work. There's a variety of sizes, but inside the hip are seeds that all are surrounded by these little hairs, and the hairs can be very itchy and irritating to the throat if you were to drink them. So whatever you do, you just want to make sure that you either keep your hip totally intact so that the hairs stay inside the hip, which you can do with the smaller rose hips. If you get the bigger rose hips, drying them like the beach rose, the Rosa rugosa, that just gets a little bit more intense as far as cutting them in half, scooping out the seeds and all the hairs and drying them that way. But if you are straining your infusion through a cloth that has a pretty tight weave to it, tighter than cheesecloth, then it might be okay anyway, because you'll probably be capturing the hairs. But I personally, just for ease, I buy my rose hips dried, and maybe with the fresh rose hips that I gather, I'll make other fun things like oxymel or vinegar infused, maybe even a tincture or an elixir for fun. But I find that to get a lot of the rose hips into daily lifestyle, it's nice to incorporate Nourishing Herbal Infusion. I also buy rose hip powder that I'll add to smoothies or add to granola or treats that I make. So that's about an ounce of the rose hips that I purchased. It's a lot smaller again than flowers and leaves because it's a lot denser and heavier. So that's why we weigh our herbs every time, because it's always different. And rose hips are just basically a really nutrient-dense wild food. They were actually, in World War II in England, it was considered a supplement food, and they were, paying people to wild harvest rose hips and sell them to the government that would then distribute them, from my understanding, as a power food when times were very tight as far as food went. So supposedly rose hips are like the best source of vitamin C per weight. They offer the most vitamin C complex than any other source. So that's great. Also full of bioflavonoids, which help our body to actually make use of the vitamin C. Also antioxidants, tannins, there's some pectin in there, carotenes, which our body can convert to vitamin A, fruit acids, a whole complex of B vitamins, vitamin E, selenium, chromium, phosphorus. There's protein in them. There's sodium, citric acid, malic acid. There's saponins and also some mucilage. So general, easing debilitated states or extreme exhaustion, malnutrition, rose hips can be really beneficial. They can decrease inflammation, excessive inflammation in the body, and also help to either prevent or recover from oxidative or excessive oxidative damage, with those antioxidant properties. They really are tonics to a lot of our body systems, so including the cardiovascular system. They are a tonic to the heart, the blood, and they can increase the health of our circulation and also decrease the risk of arteriosclerosis. They are an immune tonic. They help to support the functioning of our immune system. as well as they are antibacterial and antiviral, and they are a nice remedy during the cold and flu season. They can help fight infections, they can help ease coughs, and they also, as far as immune health, they are considered anti-mutagenic, and that's probably due to their antioxidant properties. So help keep cells from mutating in ways that we don't want them to. And let's see, so kidney support, kidney tonic, as well as a mild diuretic. And they also really support the health of our connective tissue. So our skin, really beneficial for our skin. Just think of all those antioxidants and vitamins in there, as well as our joints and anti-inflammatory, especially for arthritis. And then a brain tonic as well, so really supportive to the brain. And my research told me that especially for children who need help with concentration and focus and attention, that the Rosehips can be really helpful, as well as helping with stress ease or supporting children who are in stressful situations. So sounds like any kid in school to me. And yeah, that's Rosehips in a nutshell. So pretty basic. I just find that the infusion tastes delicious. Another way that people really like to use Rosehips is they make a rosehip syrup for cold and flu season, which is basically just a concentrated decoction where you simmer the rosehips for a long time until your water is halved, and so it's really concentrated, and then you add honey to sweeten it. But I find that even just drinking the Nourishing Infusion, that way you can drink a full quart, maybe once a week, or a couple, maybe even once every other week, depending on what you need, or maybe even a cup a day, just like a small amount every day. That works too. And you can actually really feel like the mucilage when you're straining this, and also kind of the sticky pectin. Pectin tends to be really helpful if for like diarrhea, for relieving diarrhea, and also just for like binding with maybe poisons or foodborne pathogens that we don't want in our intestines, that can really help to just bind and help eliminate. So it could also be helpful for that. I kind of just want to like rub it all over my skin or make a face mask with it. Could be really fun with the leftover Rosehips that are fully rehydrated. I bet you could even make like a little chutney of some sort with these rehydrated Rosehips. They smell really good. They almost smell like tomato paste to me a little bit, like that sweet and savory scent. And that's almost what they taste like too. They almost have a little bit of a tomato taste to it, even though they're in a different family. But they are in the rose family. It's a very safe family. It has a lot of our fruit trees in it, our apple tree and plum tree and pear tree and almonds and all of that. So give it a try. I hope you enjoy it, and you can always sweeten it or warm it up if you'd like, but add it to smoothies. I know my child enjoys it, and it's great for kids and elders and everyone in between. Cheers.